Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so today I want to start by asking you to do something well, it's a little bit difficult.
Uh,
I want you to try and just, clear your mental hard drive. Just wipe the cache, forget the stained glass windows, forget the smell of old incense, forget all the organ music, and this is really the hardest part. Try to forget the image of dusty sandals on dirt roads 2,000 years ago.
that's a big ask. That's a lot of cultural programming to just delete.
It is, but the text we're looking at today absolutely demands it. We are digging into a book by M.B. Lorenz called Jesus in New York, which came out in 2025. And I have to say, right off the bat, this is not what you might think it is.
Not at all. It's not a theological treatise or just another translation.
No.
The author, Lorenz, calls it a faithful rewriting. And I think that phrase, that distinction, is so crucial to get your head around before you even open the cover.
A faithful rewriting. I like that. So what does that mean in practice?
Well, it means we're not looking at a historical analysis of the first century. We're not doing archaeology. We're looking at a transposition. The premise is, on the surface, very simple. But the way it's executed is pretty radical.
And that premise is?
What if the Gospels happened right now, today? Not in ancient Judea, but right in the middle of the asphalt, the concrete, and the steel of modern-day New York City.
Exactly. So you're trading the dusty roads of Galilee for the FDR drive.
Right.
The Holy Land becomes the 5 boroughs. And the Messiah, he's not walking around in robes through some ancient village. He's riding the subway. He's walking the viaducts.
He's speaking the language of bike messengers and Wall Street traders.
It's a total and complete reset of the setting.
It is. And the mission of the text, and I mean really the mission for our deep dive today, is to explore how that single change, that reimagining, shifts our whole perspective on what sacred even means.
Right. Because the book argues pretty forcefully that revelation doesn't just happen in some far-off distant temple or on a holy mountain somewhere.
No, it's happening in walk-up apartments, in housing projects, in food courts.
In the absolute crush of the morning commute.
Exactly. It's happening in the messy, loud, everyday parts of life.
I just love that image the introduction gives us. It says revelation happens between a bagel with a schmear and a snowfall in Central Park.
That line just perfectly sets the stage, doesn't it?
It really does. It's all about the ordinary becoming sacred. It's about finding the divine in the things that we walk past every single day without a second thought.
Precisely. And it challenges you, the reader, to stop compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
We have this tendency to put religious life in one box and real life in a completely different box. In this retelling, those boxes are they're smashed.
Yeah.
The multiplication of the loaves, for example, is not some abstract ancient bread.
It's halal Kurt platters.
Yes. You can almost smell the white sauce.
Hmm.
And the water into wine, it's not just for a fancy banquet. It's coffee for the night shift.
Or a cold beer after a long day of work.
Things that people actually need to get through the day.
And the apostles. This is one of the biggest shifts for me. They're not these, marble statues you see in a cathedral niche somewhere.
No, they're your neighbors in Astoria.
They're bodega owners. They're rideshare drivers.
It grounds everything in this grit that feels so authentically New York. It makes you think, if these guys were real people living real lives, they probably looked a lot more like the guy making your egg and cheese sandwich this morning than some figure in a Renaissance painting.
Absolutely. So to really understand how this whole transposition works, I think we have to start where the story always starts.
Nativity.
The Nativity. But we need to forget the stable in Bethlehem. Forget the donkey, the whole scene. In Lorenz's version, we are in Midtown Manhattan.
And not just anywhere in Midtown.
No. Specifically, the Port Authority bus terminal.
Which, if you've ever been there, it is possibly the least holy feeling place on the entire planet.
It's an assault on the senses, it's chaotic, it's loud, it smells like
Diesel exhaust and floor cleaner. That's the point. The text describes Joseph not as a carpenter in that traditional sense, but as a day laborer from Queens.
Okay.
And Mary is 9 months pregnant. They're coming into Manhattan for some kind of mandatory registration, a bureaucratic hurdle they have to clear.
So it's not a census, but it's the modern equivalent. Some DMV-style appointment.
Exactly. But the city is completely packed.
Right. It's the classic no room at the inn, but it's modernized. And it really hits differently when you think about it in a city that's in the middle of a housing crisis.
It feels so much more bureaucratic and desperate. The hotels are overbooked, the shelters near Penn Station are all full, and this is where the setting just does all the heavy lifting. They don't find a cave or a stable.
No.
They find a security guard at Port Authority.
Oh.
And this guy he takes pity on them.
He breaks the rule.
He breaks protocol. He offers them a spot in the back, near the employee lockers and the cleaning supplies.
Wow.
So Jesus is born between stacks of bus schedules and vending machines.
That is such a vivid image. And the details in the text here, they're so specific. The baby isn't in swaddling clothes.
No, he's wrapped in a sweatshirt, a hoodie,
A hoodie, that's powerful.
and the manger. It's a cleaned-out storage bin lined with newspaper.
The savior in a hoodie. I mean, that immediately codes the child as part of the urban fabric. Maybe even, the marginalized part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you have the announcement. Usually we think of angels appearing to shepherds in a field with harps and glory and all that.
Right. But in Midtown,
There are no fields in Midtown. So who are the modern-day shepherds?
the people who are awake at that hour.
The delivery cyclists. The late shift workers eating at a 24-hour diner across the street.
Ooh.
And the supernatural element isn't a choir of angels. It's just the lights flicker,
A glitch in the grid.
a glitch in the grid, and a voice speaks to them. And the way the news spreads, it's not word of mouth in the village square.
It's group chats.
Group chats and social media.
You can just imagine it trending on Twitter or TikTok. Something's happening at Port Authority. It's such a grounded way to start the whole narrative. It tells you immediately. This is happening in the noise and the dirt of the city. It's fighting for your attention in the algorithm.
And that realism carries through as we move forward in the timeline. The book takes us to the story of the boy lost in the temple.
Right. But again, you have to ask, what is the modern temple? What's the center of public life in New York?
It's not a church.
No, it's Times Square.
So Jesus is 12 years old. The family is there, according to the text, shopping for discount electronics.
Which is such a real detail, looking for a deal right in the middle of a tourist trap.
And they lose him. And the panic of losing a kid in New York is so palpable in the writing. They search for 3 days. They check Grand Central. They check Chinatown, the public library.
And they finally find him near the TKTS booth in Times Square, sitting on what, an overturned crate?
An overturned crate. But he's not debating scripture with the elders in the traditional sense. He's surrounded by street vendors and breakdancers.
And what are they talking about?
They're debating fair pricing, gentrification, and the ethics of street commerce.
That's fascinating. So he's applying this ancient wisdom to a very modern, very specific New York problem.
Exactly. He asks them a question. The key quote is, what matters more, quick profit or honest work? It frames that wisdom of the child idea completely around economic justice.
Which is a huge theme in New York. It's not abstract theology. It's about, survival economics.
And when his parents finally find him, and they're obviously frantic, his response is recontextualized. He asks them, why were you searching for me? Didn't you know I had to be in my father's house?
So in this version, the father's house isn't a building.
It seems to be the epicenter of human struggle and commerce and art. He's right there in the middle of the mess, under all the neon lights.
Speaking of the mess, we should probably talk about John. In the traditional text, he's the voice in the wilderness.
But again, you run into the same problem. New York doesn't really have a wilderness. Not a desert, anyway.
So in this book, he's John of the Hudson River banks.
The wilderness of a metropolis isn't a desert. It's the margins. It's the places that polite society just chooses to ignore. So John is the son of a recycling plant worker, and he lives under the West Side Highway.
Wow, you can just hear the roar of the traffic overhead.
And smell the brackish water. And his diet, it's not locusts and wild honey.
Let me guess. Pizza crusts.
Close. It's day-old bagels from Chelsea and discarded fruit from the Union Square Green Market. He's basically a freakin'.
A figure on the fringe living off the city's excess waste. That's a powerful image.
And he preaches to the joggers on the bike path and the commuters who are rushing to their finance jobs. And his message is so specifically tailored to the New York elite. He tells them, don't say to yourselves, we have apartments in Tribeca, or we work on Wall Street.
He's attacking their status symbols directly.
He's going right for the jugular. And he gives these really specific instructions, too. It's not just general, be a better person stuff.
What does he say?
To the NYPD, he says, don't shake people down or use excessive force. To the city inspectors, the people who give out tickets, he says, don't destroy livelihoods with unnecessary tickets.
That's hyper-local ethics. It grounds the concept of repentance in civic behavior.
Exactly. It's not just about your spiritual life. It's about how you treat the street vendor or the person you're arresting. It's asking, are you part of this machine that just grinds people down, or are you choosing to act with basic human decency?
It's so practical.
Very. Which leads us actually to the first miracle, the wedding at Cana,
Okay, so where does this take place?
a brownstone in Greenwich Village.
Of course.
And the scene is great because it just captures the incredible stress of New York event planning.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever hosted anything here, you know the pressure.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a disaster. A delivery mix-up from a liquor store in Chelsea leaves them completely without wine.
A social catastrophe.
It's a total nightmare. And Mary, who in this version runs her own tailoring business, she gets involved. She's basically working the wedding.
Mm.
And she goes to Jesus.
And what does he use? No stone water jars lying around, I'm guessing.
No. He uses 6 empty office water dispensers. You know, those big blue plastic jugs.
The kind you see in every office break room.
Exactly. He has them filled with tap water.
Yeah.
And the result is a perfect Cabernet.
Amazing.
And the detail I love here is the master of ceremonies. He's not just some random wedding planner. He's a sommelier from a Michelin-starred restaurant.
So his expertise validates the miracle.
It does. He's completely shocked that they saved the best vintage for last. He can't believe it.
It's turning a corporate water cooler, the symbol of mundane office life, into a vessel of grace.
That seems to be the recurring theme, right? Taking the mundane symbols of work and urban life and turning them into symbols of joy and abundance.
But it's not all weddings and wine. The book shifts pretty quickly into the ministry, and that brings conflict.
A lot of conflict.
Specifically, let's talk about the rejection in the Bronx.
So this corresponds to the rejection at Nazareth in the Gospels. Jesus goes back to his old neighborhood, which the book identifies as the Patterson houses.
Oh, okay, a public housing project.
Yes. And he's in the community center, reading from Isaiah. But he's not reading from a scroll. He's reading off a smartphone.
And the crowd, they know him. They know him as Joe's son.
Right. And at first, they're proud. You know, local boy does good.
Yeah.
There's this sense of neighborhood pride. But then the mood just, it turns.
Why? What happens?
He refuses to perform miracles just for the hometown crowd. He brings up the old stories of Elijah and Elisha helping outsiders, Gentiles, over their own people.
And in a New York context where neighborhood loyalty is everything,
Where you rep your block, you rep your borough.
that would be seen as a massive betrayal.
A huge betrayal. He's basically telling the Bronx, God cares just as much about the people in Queens or Staten Island or the people you think are outsiders.
And the reaction is not good.
The reaction is violent. The crowd becomes a mob. They try to drag him toward the Grand Concourse to throw him into traffic.
That is a terrifying image. The Grand Concourse is not a small street.
It's a terrifying modern image of a stoning. But the text says he just walks through them with this supernatural calm. It shows that his message is designed to disrupt tribalism, even the fierce tribalism of New York neighborhoods.
But he doesn't stop working. He just moves on. The next scene takes us to Astoria, to Joe's apartment above a bodega.
This is the healing of Peter's mother-in-law. Or, in this book, she's a Greek woman named Mrs. Costas. She's the backbone of the family, the matriarch.
And she's sick, feverish. Jesus heals her. And what does she do? She doesn't fall to her knees and start praying.
No, not at all. The moment she's better, she gets up to fry sausages and stock the coolers in the bodega downstairs.
It's the resumption of real life.
That's it exactly. The miracle isn't the end of the story. It's the means to get back to the work of living and caring for the family. It's a signal that the bodega is open for business again.
It's a very immigrant narrative, I think. Health isn't a luxury. It's the fundamental ability to work and provide for your family.
Absolutely. Then we move from this very domestic scene to the calling of the first disciples, the miraculous catch.
But we're not on the Sea of Galilee.
We are on the East River, near the Williamsburg Bridge. And if you know the East River, you know it's not exactly teeming with pristine edible fish.
No, it's known for being murky.
Murky is a kind word. So you have Joe, Andrew, James, and John. They've been fishing all night, and they've caught nothing, which implies they're struggling, maybe doing this just to scrape by on the margins.
And Jesus tells them to cast into deep water.
They do, and the nets tear. They catch so much striped bass and bluefish that the boats nearly capsize.
It's this moment of shocking abundance in a place you'd associate with scarcity and pollution.
And that's what gets Joe Peter. He falls to his knees on the floor of the boat. It's that moment of recognizing something divine right there in the middle of the East River sludge.
And that's when Jesus calls them to fish for people.
And they leave it all behind. the boats, the waterfront life. It's a transition from just trying to survive to having a real mission.
One of the most, I don't know, touching portraits in this section for me is the story of the leper.
Hmm.
In the book, he's a young man named Marcus at the Hunts Point Market in the Bronx. And he's not a leper in the biblical medical sense.
No, Lorenz argues that modern leprosy is social. Marcus has severe facial scars from a knife fight. He's a marked man.
People look away from him on the subway.
He's become invisible, a non-person. The stigma is the disease.
And Jesus,
What does he do?
he touches him
Mm.
right on the ugliest star on his cheekbone. And that gesture touching the very thing that everyone else recoils from, that's the real miracle.
The physical healing follows, but the restoration of his dignity, his humanity, happens with that touch.
And then he sends him to a neighborhood clinic for a clean bill of health. He's not trying to undermine the systems in place. He's working both within them and beyond them.
That's a great point. So this brings us to the core of the teaching, the Sermon on the Mount. But in a city of skyscrapers, what's a mount?
It's the observation deck of Rockefeller Center, top of the rock.
I love this imagery. Jesus looking down on the whole island, seeing the grid, the flow of traffic, everything.
And the Beatitudes get a remix.
A total New York remix. Blessed are the poor in spirit.
Those without corner offices.
Blessed are the meek.
Those who hear rap from the projects.
Blessed are the pure in heart, seeing God in a Hudson sunset. It completely redefines who truly owns the city. It's not the developers or the hedge funds.
It's the meek. It's the people on the margins.
And he tells them, you are the salt of New York City. And then he gives them this warning. If the salt loses its flavor, it's just going to be trampled underfoot in Times Square.
It's a call to maintain your integrity, your essence, in a place that is constantly trying to grind it out of you.
Yeah. And the teachings continue with the parables, which are, they're arguably the strongest part of this entire rewriting.
It translates so well.
They translate perfectly. Let's take the parable of the sower.
Okay, so the setting for that is a community garden or a vacant lot in Red Hook, Brooklyn.
Right. And the analogies are so clever. The path where the seeds fall is packed concrete.
Nothing can grow there.
The rocky places are that thin layer of dirt you find over concrete rubble in a lot of these places. It speaks to the incredible resilience you need just to grow anything in the city.
And the good soil is the resilient soil of Red Hook that's been tended to, maybe composted by the community.
It's a beautiful metaphor for community effort. Then you have the Good Samaritan, or in this version, the good bodega owner.
I love this one. The victim is a corporate lawyer.
Yes, mugged near Columbus Circle, which immediately flips the script. In a lot of modern stories, the lawyer would be the bad guy. But here, he's the one who's vulnerable.
And the people who pass by and ignore him.
A senior analyst who is just too busy, and a city council aide who is, and I quote, drafting a memo.
They're too important, too wrapped up in their own worlds to stop.
But the hero is the bodega owner from Washington Heights. He pulls up in his delivery van, uses it as an ambulance, takes the lawyer to the ER.
And he covers the ER copay.
He covers the copay. And the lesson is so explicit. True value isn't on a spreadsheet. It's in the human heart. It's a direct challenge to the transactional nature of New York life, where time is money. Here, time is mercy.
Okay, and we have to talk about the prodigal son.
The father from Astoria.
This one feels so cinematic.
It really does. The youngest son takes his inheritance, his cash, and moves to a high-rise in Long Island City.
Parties, lives the high life.
Loses it all,
Mm-hmm.
and ends up working for a food delivery app, which is just such a specific modern form of hitting rock bottom. You're delivering food you can't even afford to eat yourself.
And he finally comes back to his father's diner in Astoria. How does the father see him?
He sees him on a diner's security camera feed.
That is hilarious.
It's such a perfect detail, and the celebration is so specific. They're out in the street, grilling saganaki, drinking ouzo. The whole staff comes out.
But the older brother, the dutiful one.
He's a delivery driver for the family business. He's out making a drop in Jackson Heights when he hears about it. And he is furious. He complains that he never even got a night off.
It captures that immigrant work ethic and the tension between duty and grace just perfectly.
It really does. So moving from these intimate family stories, the book also details these encounters with power and wealth.
We meet the centurion.
Who is now a colonel stationed at Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn.
And this works because the military structure is still our best modern analogy for that kind of absolute authority.
For sure. The colonel gets the chain of command. He understands giving and taking orders. And he tells Jesus, I have not found such great faith even in the East Coast. It's this moment of recognition of spiritual authority by secular authority.
And then there's the rooftop party on the Upper East Side.
Yes, this is the story of the woman who washes Jesus' feet with expensive perfume. The host here is a hedge fund manager.
And his motive for inviting Jesus is so cynical.
It is. He wants to study him as a values influencer. He's trying to figure out if he can monetize the profit.
But the party is crashed.
By Sophia, the queen of condos. She's a notorious real estate developer known for displacing tenants. She's the face of gentrification.
But she has a moment of, what, repentance?
A complete breakdown. A breakthrough. She smashes a tablet that contains the plans for some controversial new project, and then she breaks open a bottle of vintage perfume. The text says it's worth more than a car and pours it over Jesus' feet.
And the host is scandalized. What a waste. Think of the ROI on that perfume.
But Jesus uses that debt analogy. The man who was forgiven $500,000 versus the one forgiven $50,000. He points out that her all-in desperation, her willingness to publicly destroy her status and her project, that's what saved her. It's a total critique of the host's superficial academic interest versus her radical, costly repentance.
Now, we can't talk about wealth without talking about Zacchaeus.
Or, in this version, David Chen, the condo board president in Williamsburg.
Described as short, vaping, and universally hated for exorbitant common charges.
A perfect modern villain.
Yeah.
And he climbs a stack of pallets at a pop-up market just to get a glimpse of Jesus.
And Jesus sees him, calls him down, and invites himself over to his penthouse.
And the transformation that happens there is purely economic. Chen stands up and promises to renegotiate the maintenance staff's contracts to provide a living wage. He promises to establish a hardship fund for residents.
And he says, salvation has come to this condominium.
It connects salvation directly to labor rights and fair wages. It's not just, I'm going to try to be a nicer guy from now on. It's, I'm going to fix the payroll.
It's about tangible justice.
Exactly. The book also tackles the big nature miracles. Feeding the multitude, for example, happens at Flushing Meadows in Queens.
A crowd of 10,000 people, and the logistics are a nightmare. Philip, one of the disciples, does the math and figures it would cost at least $20,000 to feed everyone.
But then a boy comes forward with 5 lamb over rice platters and 2 sodas.
Halal food, the ultimate New York City street food.
The ultimate NYC sustenance. And the miracle is that the platters just keep refilling. Steaming rice, seasoned lamb, the sodas stay cold. It's an endless supply.
And the leftovers fill 12 delivery bags.
The text describes the vibe as being like a giant block party. It turns a miracle of survival into a community celebration. It's a celebration of the diversity of Queens.
And calming the storm.
That happens on the Staten Island Ferry.
Of course it does.
They're crossing from Battery Park. A certain squall whips up in the harbor. The boat is being tossed around. And Jesus is just asleep on a bench.
Completely unfazed.
The disciples wake him up, terrified. He stands up, silences the wind and the waves, and the ferry just glides calmly into St. George Terminal.
It takes this very mundane daily commute and injects it with this moment of terrifying power and then sudden absolute peace.
It suggests that even the commute, the most routine part of a New Yorker's day, is under his authority.
Let's maybe slow down a bit and look at some of the more intimate portraits of grace, as the book calls them. We have Mary and Martha.
Set in a spacious brownstone and park slope.
Naturally.
And Martha is frantic. She's running around, dealing with the salad, the lasagna, the cheese board. She is trying to be the perfect hostess.
The ultimate Park Slope dinner party.
Meanwhile, her sister Mary is just sitting on the sofa, listening to Jesus. And Martha gets upset.
And Jesus' response is so pointed. He tells her she's worried about things like traffic on the BQE.
That is such a great, specific line. He tells her a guest isn't a client you have to impress. Your presence is honored with listening, not with a perfectly chilled Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh, that hits hard at the modern culture of performative hospitality. You know, we curate our lives and our homes for Instagram, but maybe we miss the actual human connection.
I think that's exactly the point. Then you have the story of the blind man.
At Grand Central Terminal.
He's a man named David, blind from birth, sitting by the iconic information booth clock.
And the healing is so gritty. Jesus makes mud with his own saliva right there on the concourse floor.
It's visceral. And he tells him to go wash in the fountain near the Hudson Line departures.
And when his sight comes, the first thing he sees is the star-painted ceiling of the main concourse.
That celestial ceiling. It's such a perfect, beautiful detail for the first thing he ever sees.
And then, of course, there's an investigation.
MTA officials and police get involved. It becomes this bureaucratic procedural. They're trying to figure out what happened, who this man is. But his testimony remains so simple.
I was blind, but now I see.
That's all he knows, and that's all that matters.
The woman at the well is another standout. It's relocated to the Queens Midtown Tunnel.
At a dim, kind of grimy rest stop and gas station at the tunnel entrance. It's late at night. The woman, Amy, is an exhausted rideshare driver.
And the interaction starts so simply. She asks him for a light for her cigarette.
And Jesus offers her fire that never goes out. He identifies her aimless life, driving these roads that lead nowhere, endlessly searching for answers in apps and fleeting connections.
The well is the endless stream of traffic and passengers.
It's the loneliness of the gig economy worker. And after their conversation, she crushes the cigarette, stands up a little straighter, and starts sharing her story with a total stranger in the convenience store. She's found something real.
And finally, there's the widow's son.
Set in Brownsville. And this one is tragic and so timely. It's a funeral procession for a young man who was killed in a police operation. The sound of traffic from the Jackie Robinson Parkway is in the background.
Jesus approaches the procession.
And he touches the simple wooden coffin. The boy sits up. And the reaction of the neighborhood, the people on the street, is God has come to help his people in the projects.
That's an incredibly powerful affirmation. It's saying that God's presence and power are right there in the pain of the projects, not just in the comfort of a cathedral on Fifth Avenue.
It's about where God chooses to show up.
So after walking through all the boroughs, after seeing all these miracles and parables reimagined, what does it all add up to? It feels like this book, Jesus in New York, it forces a total rethink of these stories we think we know.
It completely strips away the distance, the historical distance, the cultural distance. When we read the Bible, the toga-clad figures from 2,000 years ago can feel, well, they can feel like fairy tales.
Right, they're not real in the same way.
But when you replace the Roman centurion with a U.S. Army colonel from Fort Hamilton, or you replace the scribe with a management consultant, the stories bite again. They become uncomfortable.
They become relevant.
They become incredibly relevant. It moves the sacred from the temple to the subway, from the ancient mountaintop to a rooftop party on the Upper East Side.
I think the core message at the end of the day is that the sacred is not separated from the secular. It's not something you go visit once a week.
No, it's found in the subway crush. It's in the hospital room. It's in the messy, loud, overpriced, beautiful, constant struggle of city life.
And that really leaves you with a final provocative question, doesn't it? It's the idea that if these stories happen today, right here in your city, would you even recognize them?
That is the question. Or would you just be another commuter rushing past the blind man in Grand Central?
We're all busy. We're all drafting a memo like that city council aide in the Good Samaritan story.
And this book invites us, it challenges us, to stop for a second, to look at the bodega owner, to look at the rideshare driver, and maybe see something holy there.
Jesus on New York. It really does stay with you. I mean, it changes how you look at a halal cart, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes the concrete hum with something a little more than just traffic.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.
Stay curious.